Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Quran Daily, where I hear the Quran in Arabic but I discuss it in English. My name is Ahmed, and I'm happy to continue on the journey through the Quran where we started from the very beginning, but we're now in chapter 10, Yunus, starting from verse 26. We have 26 verses to go to. Today is up to 1052, if I'm not mistaken. I might have missed a section as I was reading it. But yeah, it's a bit of a long section today, so we'll give it a go. And so, just for my streaming schedule and for my releasing of these videos, the plan was to do it every day, but I think I'm going to do it every day except for Sundays. So this episode will come out on Thursday. Today, I'm recording it now. And then I'll have another episode out for tomorrow, and then one more for Saturday. That's my plan. I'm going to release every day except for Sunday. Because God created the world in 6 days, and then he sat on his throne. So I will also rest one day of the week. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. Before we start reading the Quran and discussing it, I must always explain that I am not a Quranic scholar, nor am I a student of the Arabic language. I am merely undergoing a journey to learn about the Quran and share my learning with you, and I'm hoping that you learn a little bit as well. And if there's something that you see or disagree with or have a different perspective on, please feel free to drop a comment. For example, Mr. Matter put a comment on last week's video, and I'm discussing with him on the comments to figure out what he meant by it. Cool. Before we start reading the Quran, we must always say, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan ar-rajim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, which means I seek refuge from God from the devil, and in the name of God who's most merciful and whose mercy is most encompassing. And just to pick off where we were last week, he was talking about, what the worldly life, it's very temporary, and that God invites everybody to the home of peace, which was a very interesting concept, السلام. But I think we started a new topic here. Anyway, we started a new topic, I assume.
للذين أحسنوا الحسنى وزيادة ولا يرهق وجوههم قتر ولا ذلة أولئك أصحاب الجنة هم فيها خالدون.
Yeah, okay, so here we're talking about the people who are going to heaven, and it starts by describing for those who do good, ahsanul husna, they did the best of doing good, and then some. They really go above and beyond to be good, and you can see that they live their whole lives in goodness and in servitude and in being mindful of God, so to speak, in a way. But I also think that this can apply to those who aren't necessarily mindful of God, but just do good for goodness sake. But it just says, for those who do good, who do the best, ahsan husna, do good, the best, and more, and wala yarhaqu wujuhum, and their faces will not be covered with dust nor humiliation. I like the translation here, neither gloom nor disgrace, because the Arabic language is very flowery and colorful. So when they say that there's dust on your face, like it's a kind of you've been disgraced. This means humiliation is disgrace. So they're saying dust on your face is gloom, qatarun. Why do I feel like it means dewdrops? They translate it to qatar, skimp. Okay, qatarun. See dictionary. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, I like the description. Neither gloom nor disgrace. It's a metaphor. Those people who do good the best, they will not be ashamed or have dusty faces. Those are the companions of paradise, of heaven, and in it they will abide forever.
والذين كسبوا السيئات جزاء سيئة بمثلها وترهقهم ذلة ما لهم من الله من عاصم كأنما أغشيت وجوههم قطعا من الليل مظلما أولئك أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون.
Okay, and then on the opposite side, on the flip side, and those who have earned their evil deeds, those who have earned evil deeds, the reward, the recompense for their evil deeds is like itself. So whoever does an evil deed will get an evil deed in return. That's kind of the Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Yeah, and whoever does an evil deed will get its equivalent, and they will be covered in humiliation. We saw this in the previous example. The ones who do good and do the best, they will not be humiliated. And here, the opposite end, those who do evil deeds will get evil deeds, and they will be. Here it says, it will cover them. I don't know why this feels like it will exhaust them. ترهقهم. Yeah, exhaust them. I'm not going crazy. So yeah, their humiliation will exhaust them. They will be exhausted from being humiliated. That is correct. Cover doesn't get the right feeling across. And they will not have from God. They will not have any defender from God. Nobody can defend them from God. It's as if they have been covered, their faces have been covered with pieces of the night that is dark, the darkness of the night. And their faces, like this is always an expression, their faces are black, like they are so ashamed that it looks like they have completely blackened faces, so to speak. Those are the companions of fire, and we know this to be hell. And in it, they are abiding forever. So we saw the good will be in heaven, the bad will be disgraced, the evil will be disgraced, and they'll be in hell.
ويوم نحشرهم جميعا ثم نقول للذين أشركوا مكانكم أنتم وشركاؤكم فزيلنا بينهم وقال شركاؤهم ما كنتم إيانا تعبدون.
It's a little bit scary, and I have a lot of commentary to give on those that we associate with God as partners, but that'll come a little bit later. And on the day that you will be gathered all together, then we will say to those who associated partners, who believed in somebody to be equal to God, your place. We will say to those who associated partner with God, your place and your partners. And here it's understood that your partners and stay in your places. You and your associate gods, you stay in your place, and your associate partners and gods will stay in their place. And then we will separate them. We'll separate between them. So we'll say these are who used to be worshipped and those who did the worshipping. There's going to be a separation. And the ones who were worshipped, the ones who they used to pray to, the false gods, the false deities, would say they were not ma kuntum, you were not worshipping us, which is such an interesting expression, because yes, they were. Obviously, they were associating them. But here, what is it saying? It's saying that those things that you worship. So I'll give you the example of I'm connected to a lot of Facebook groups of like witches, and I've randomly had a connection of random Facebook friends that are worshipping, for instance, Lucifer, whom they believe is the devil, al-shaytan. And we'll get into what they believe a bit shorter. But it's funny how like those worshipping Hecate or Lucifer, the Quran is saying those Hecate and Lucifer are real, they exist, and they will say you weren't worshipping us at the end of time. Like they are abandoning you on the day of judgment, which is a scary thought, like to spend your whole life worshipping something and then to feel abandoned by it. And the reason why it's a scary thought is because technically we don't know for sure that this is correct and that God is. We believe in God and we believe in the Quran and we believe in these words, but there's always that fear of what if you're wrong? The person who uses their physical senses to validate. So this is a fear that I have of like, what if at the end of your life, that which you used to worship abandons you, and the Quran is saying that about them. Of course, I believe this to be right, and I believe that they're going to be screwed. But that's they probably think the same about me.
فكفى بالله شهيدا بيننا وبينكم إن كنا عن عبادتكم لغافلين.
Now I find this to be very interesting. Okay, God is enough. God is sufficient as a witness. And then it says, between us and between you, if we were about your worship ignorant or unaware. So I don't know who the we is in this example. Because here it's saying God serves as a witness between us and between you. The we in this example, if we were of your worship unaware, we definitely know that we does not include God, because God is aware of everything. So I can imagine angels could be a thing. I could imagine the inhabitants of heaven, but I'm not sure. Because God is a witness between us and between you. And here it's taking the example of the people who associate with God. So between the people who associate with God and between us. And I don't know who us is. And it sounds like maybe us is the royal we that is used. It does not include God because they were unaware. It could include angels. It could include the inhabitants of heaven. Sorry. So I find it interesting that in kunna we were, if we were about your worship unaware. The translation here says Allah is sufficient witness between each of us that we were totally unaware of your worship. Here they're saying it as if it's a quote. Oh. Okay, so I understood it. The partners that they used to worship said, you did not used to worship us, and God is sufficient as a witness between us and between you. Indeed, if we were unaware of your worship to us. That's interesting. So the things that so let's give them like Lucifer and Hecate, for example, are going to say, it wasn't us that you worshipped, and God is a sufficient witness between each of us, that if we were, I think this is if, not that. Maybe it is that. It does say that, but إن كنا عن عبادتكم لغافلين. God is enough of a witness between us and between you if we were unaware of your worship. So is it saying that they are unaware of their worship? No, it's saying God is a sufficient witness. And in a way here, it's making me feel like they were not asking you to worship them. Which is interesting. That's the kind of feel that I get, that the things that people think are gods and that are praying to, the idea is that they were unaware. إن كنا عن عبادتكم لغافلين. Let's put the whole sentence in translate and see if that makes sense. If we were heedless of your worship. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, if makes more sense than that. If we were heedless of God is sufficient as a witness between us if we were heedless, if we didn't know about your worship. Very interesting. And then it kind of clarifies later on in the verses that there are people who are worshiping are guessing, and they're creating lies. So, whoa, it's very interesting. Because I always thought of, like, when they worship Lucifer and Hecate and all that jazz, that those entities were misguiding people. But here it's saying God is a witness to what is between us and between you. So that for me is a statement of swearing. They're trusting God. Very interesting. Wow. Okay, next.
هنالك تبلو كل نفس ما أسلفت وردوا إلى الله مولاهم الحق وضل عنهم ما كانوا يفترون.
Okay. Come on. No, don't. Are you going to cause an issue? Okay. All right. There, we put to trial every soul for what it did previously. And they will return towards God, their Lord, that is true, and will be lost for them what they used to invent. So again, it ties it back to the people who used to worship other things other than God, and it's putting the blame on them. It's not putting the blame on the things that they used to worship. It's putting the blame on them, saying they used to invent. And here it says whatever gods they fabricated, and I think the Quran is saying it's not that they're gods. It's the Quran is saying they're real, and those things will disassociate from them. The people who associated partners with them, and it was the people that were inventing lies that you should worship the sun, you should worship, blah 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 blah. Interesting.
قل من يرزقكم من السماء والأرض أم من يملك السمع والأبصار ومن يخرج الحي من الميت ويخرج الميت من الحي ومن يدبر الأمر فسيقولون الله فقل أفلا تتقون.
Yeah, so here it says, which we understand it says to the Prophet, but it also can be applied to us. Say to those people, who provides for you from the heavens, from the sky, from the earth, or who owns the hearing and the seeing. Such an interesting expression. Al-Sam'a wal-Absar. Hearing, it feels like it's the plural. Absar, it's like the multiple sights. I don't know why it's not in the same grammatical context, because it would be Al-Sam'a wal-Basar, for example, if it was the same phrasing. So it's very interesting. Al-Sama', which means the hearing, the ability to hear, kind of. Wal-Absar, and the sights. So the hearing singular and the sights plural. I'm not quite sure why. And who brings out the living from the dead and brings forth the dead from the living. And this is an example that we've seen in the Quran before. And I've heard it expressed to me like a seed is dead and it can bring forth life. And then life can be killed and die. And I guess because we're talking about the partners of God, here it's kind of asking the question of like, who does this, who does that, what's the situation? And who disposes the affairs, who disposes the affairs, who makes things happen. And here it says, and they will say, God. And then say, will you not be mindful of him? Tattaqun is like kind of be wary. It is kind of fear in a way. It's like you're kind of aware and conscious and you're kind of keeping a thing in your mind. So that's why I say mindful more than fearful, because fearful is like, oh, this is scaring me. Whereas mindful is like, I'm keeping it in my mind. And that seems more of an accurate description. But I find it interesting is they say, then they will say God. Now here is God saying that they're the people who you ask this question to. And it must, so for me, if the people you ask this question to say that this is God, then I imagine this is talking about the end of times when it's too late, because we didn't mention when the day that they will be gathered. So they will say at the end of times that it's God that brings the dead from the living and the living from the dead, and he owns hearing and sight, and that we should be mindful of him.
ذلكم الله ربكم الحق فماذا بعد الحق إلا الضلال فأنى تصرفون.
For that is God, your Lord, in truth. So what can come after truth? What is beyond truth except not error, misguidance. Dalal is misguidance. So anything that's not true, it's closer. Error is kind of accurate because it talks about the thing that is not right, is not true. Falsehood is also a kind of a good expression, but dalal means to be misguided. So what is after the truth except for misguided? So anyone who is not following the truth is misguided. So how will you turn away? How can you then be turned away, knowing this?
كذلك حقت كلمة ربك على الذين فسقوا أنهم لا يؤمنون.
Thus has proved true the word of God upon those who defiantly disobeyed. And what is the word of God? It's that they will not believe. That's your Lord's decree has been proven true against the rebellious. And so this is again at the end of times. God's word against the rebellious will be true, and the word is they will never believe.
قل هل من شركائكم من يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده قل الله يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده فأنى تؤفكون.
I'm going to also translate the words literally because I think that there's power in them. Say, is there anyone of your partners, any one of the ones you associate with God, the things that you worship, whom originates, who starts creation and then repeats it? Oh, yeah, okay. I saw resurrected in the translation below. I was like, no, repeats it is the correct word. Starts creation and then repeats it. And then it says to the prophet, but it also says to us, say, God originates the creation and then repeats it. It's interesting that he's repeating this phrase because that's the beautiful poetry of the Quran. So how will فَأَنَّا تُؤْفَكُونَ? So how are you then deluded? But I always, this will be done at the. Yeah, but like I also struggle with these arguments because we don't have any evidence in this world that God will repeat our lives and that he will resurrect us. We believe, but we don't have this evidence. So I struggle with this argument. Why would you say this to non-believers if they can't see if we can't even see it? How are they going to see it? We believe it, but it's just a strange argument to make. And then I have a few comments on this next verse.
قل هل من شركائكم من يهدي إلى الحق قل الله يهدي للحق أفمن يهدي إلى الحق أحق أن يتبع أم من لا يهدي إلا أن يهدى فما لكم كيف تحكمون.
Say, is there anyone from those who you associate with God who guides towards the truth? Very interesting turn of phrase. And the first thing that I thought of was that when I spoke to those people, like I'll give you the example of one person. Let's not make confusion. I spoke to the person who worships Lucifer and who prays to Lucifer, which loosely translates to the shaitan, which is like alarm bells everywhere. But I'm like, so what does Lucifer tell you to do? What's the point? And he says, Lucifer tells me to be my best person, to be the best person that I can be, to be the best version of myself that I can be, and to do good in my own way. Which, when he says that, I go like, okay, that doesn't sound so bad. But the very interesting expression here is that who guides towards the truth. And I think that, for example, live the best life that you can, be as good a person as you can, is advice that I can give you. Advice that anyone could give you. It's advice that a lot of people give you, and a lot of people tell you live your best truth. But is it the truth? And I think here the idea of what the truth means. The truth means is that there is one God, and there is a heaven and hell, and there is consequences for doing good, and there is consequences for doing bad. That for me feels like truth. And what he said to me felt like a motivational speaker, that doesn't know you, that doesn't have any answers, and was just telling you, you be the best you that you can be, which is like, thanks. Like, it's not saying anything while saying something, and then say God guides to the truth. And for me, for instance, studying the Quran and learning about it is a way of learning about the truth. And like, I'm learning so much, and I'm a very critical and scientific person, and I am waiting for that moment that I disagree with what is being said. There are some things that I don't understand, but I have not found, even the more difficult verses, I have not found them to be problematic. So I find it to be the truth, and I find myself to be learning about the truth from this, learning about a lot of things that I could not have given you the answer myself. And then the question is he then who guides towards the truth more worthy? So God is God the one who guides towards the truth, more worthy than being who should be followed, or is he the one who does not guide unless they are themselves guided? So someone who has learned from somebody else versus someone who's giving you the answer firsthand. That's kind of the comparison it's making. Is the one who gives you the answer correct, or the person who learned the answer from somebody else more correct? And it's kind of drawing the comparison between the two. Rather go to the source, essentially, is the question. So then what is it for you, how you judge? فَمَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ? And so what's the matter? What is the matter with you? How do you judge? Yeah, so how do you, like here it's saying, how do you follow those who need to be guided, rather than following the one who gives you all the answers?
وما يتبع أكثرهم إلا ظنا إن الظن لا يغني من الحق شيئا إن الله عليم بما يفعلون.
Yeah, so we can apply this to what I said about the person who said that's what Lucifer is asking them to do. And they do not follow, most of them do not follow except assumptions and guesses. And I've had even close friends of mine who've been like, I've been meditating and then I saw Hekate in front of me and she told me to do things. And it's hard. Like for me, I've had some supernatural experiences where I felt a spirit and there was a whole story and a possession, and that's a story for a different day. But even now with my experience, and as certain as I was that I went through it, I always say, I don't know what that was. I can guess, and I did guess at the time. And I can tell you what my guess is, but that's neither here nor there. But in the end of the day, it's an assumption. I assumed what that spirit was. I know that it was there. I know that it was real. I know that I interacted with it. But I don't know what it was. I do know that the outcome of it overall, it saved my life. And I have an assumption of what it is, but I don't know what it is, and that's why I'm kind of studying the truth, so to speak. And so you can compare it to that who is following Lucifer. They're assuming. They ain't having conversations with Lucifer. They don't know. And indeed, assumption does not avail or make rich of truth. يغني من الحق شيئا. It does not avail from truth anything. Assumptions in no way can replace truth. And they're not better than truth. They're not more valuable than truth. In any way, shape, or form. Indeed, God is all-knowing of what they do. Yeah.
وما كان هذا القرآن أن يفترى من دون الله ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل الكتاب لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين.
I will never not roll my eyes whenever they stop a verse in the middle and then repeat it. It drives me wild. Because it's like... Anyway. And it is not that this Quran could have been produced without God. Min dun Allah, without God. But it is a confirmation for which is بين يديه, which is not before, which is what is between his hands, what they have. It's a confirmation of what they have already. So this, the example, and we've seen it time before again, the Torah and the Injil are from God. And they are what is referred to as in between their hands, and they come here. Sometimes they just need to take a breath, Mr. Matar says. I know, but this verse is not that long. They've said longer verses, and they have not taken breaths for longer verses. So I don't think that they need to take a breath here. I think if they should take a breath between every ayah. They shouldn't take a breath in the middle of an ayah. This is not that long of an ayah. Sorry, Mr. Matar has joined the chat, and he's my favorite viewer. Anyway, aside from my mother, of course, I love you, Mom. Hi. Yeah, so the Quran cannot be produced without God, but it confirms what is between their hands, and what between their hands is the Torah, the Injil, and a detailed explanation of the book. That's what the Quran is. It's a detailed explanation of the book. There is no doubt in it from the Lord of the worlds. And this is talking about the miracle of the Quran, which we are studying today.
أم يقولون افتراه قل فأتوا بسورة مثله وادعوا من استطعتم من دون الله إن كنتم صادقين.
I love these verses because there's a term that might sound like it's bad to describe God in, because it also sounds like there's, let's just call it confident, but the word that I was thinking of is cocky. And this idea of like, oh, you think you could do better? Go on, do better. Let me explain the verse before I kind of explain the sentiment. Or do they say that he has invented it? Do they claim that the Prophet has invented it, peace be upon him? Then say, so bring a surah, which is a chapter, we're reading chapter 10, Surah Yunus. Then bring a chapter that is like it. And call whoever is possible, whoever you can call for besides God, if you are telling the truth. And that's kind of why I say that it's kind of that cocky attitude, like, oh, you think that he's making this up? Oh, you think you could do the same? Go ahead, do it. And it's like it's very much my attitude. My attitude is like, come on, you think you could do better? Do it. I love that. Ooh, it's spicy for me, and I enjoy it.
بل كذبوا بما لم يحيطوا بعلمه ولما يأتهم تأويله كذلك كذب الذين من قبلهم فانظر كيف كان عاقبة الظالمين.
This is very interesting. But yeah, so nay, they denied what they did not understand, what they could not encompass of knowledge, what they could not gain of knowledge of it. So they didn't understand it, and so they denied it. And وَلَمَّا يَأْتِيَهُمْ تَأْوِيلُهُ, and when it has come to them, its interpretation. I like this translation, the fulfillment of the warning. When it comes to them, the thing that, the Quran was right. Which will be too late, because like the first example that I can see is Israel, and there is a verse in the Quran that talks about what's going to happen to Israel when the second warning comes to pass. Highly recommend you to take a look at it. We'll cover it later in the series. And thus, when that happens, thus denied those. It also shows those that before them denied the same as they're denying it, and then it says, then see how it was the end of the wrongdoers. So I feel like this verse, like if we take Israel for example, will maybe in our lifetime we will see the end of the wrongdoers. We will see the people who have spread corruption and commit genocide and commit apartheid and all the horrible things that they do based off of what the Quran says they will suffer, and we will see. So this is like, the warning is there, and the warning is loud and clear. And of course, it applies to not just that specific group of people. It applies to anyone that's doing wrong and anyone that's going to suffer. That's denying denying God's verses just because they don't understand it.
وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِهِ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ لَا يُؤْمِنُ بِهِ وَرَبُّكَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُفْسِدِينَ.
As always, there's a distinction. There are those, and of them are those who believe in it, and of them are those who do not believe in it. And from what I understand, the previous verse was saying about the wrongdoers. So it's saying from the group of the wrongdoers, some believe in it and some don't believe in it, which is mind-blowing to me, because like, how do you believe in it and then do wrong? But again, not to kick a dead horse, but it does sound like a lot of Israelis. Sorry. And God knows of the corruptors. Sorry, God does. God knows who believes and who doesn't believe. Here they've added eventually. Eventually is not in the verse. So for me, I understand from those who are doing wrong, some believe and some don't believe. That makes more sense to me. Hello?
وَإِن كَذَّبُوكَ فَقُل لِّي عَمَلِي وَلَكُمْ عَمَلُكُمْ أَنتُم بَرِيئُونَ مِمَّا أَعْمَلُ وَأَنَا بَرِيءٌ مِّمَّا تَعْمَلُونَ.
Before I explain this verse, I forgot. I don't know if you're still here, Mr. Matar, but Happy New Year. Also, anyone that's watching this video, Happy New Year. It's the Islamic New Year. This is day one of the new year. I think it's 1447. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to look it up. But Happy New Year. Today should be 1 Muharram. And then continuing about the Quran and the disbelievers and the believers. And if they deny you, then say, for me are my deeds and for you are your deeds. And this is something that we all could say. And you are disassociated, you're innocent of what I do, and I am innocent of what you do. And this is something that we can all say. And this is one of the repeated lessons of the Quran. And I believe we've covered it because we did the small chapters during Ramadan, which Surah Al-Kafirun, which means the chapter of the disbelievers, and it says, you're here, Happy New Year, Kul Sana wa Salam, woo. Which the lesson there was that, just, you don't have to convince nobody of anything. You just tell them, all right, you do you, and I'm gonna do me. I'm free of what you do. You want to disbelieve, you want to lie, you want to do whatever, you're free to do it. The Quran in no way, shape, or form says force anyone. So anybody that forces anybody else to behave in religion, even the Muslim countries, are doing it wrong. Anyone that forces others to behave as they believe is wrong. You should always give the person choice. Now, I believe that laws should exist, but laws should be made by human logic and human awareness. And these laws should govern ourselves. We should use the laws that God has put upon us to apply to ourselves. And of course, some of the human laws can echo these laws. Sure, no problem. But like forcing somebody else to, like, for instance, forcing hijab or something, and let's not get too complicated. Just you do you and I do me. Let's keep it clean.
منهم من يستمعون إليك أفأنت تسمع الصم ولو كانوا لا يعقلون.
Now there's something about this verse that made my heart happy. And among them, and among those people are some who listen to you. And this, again, I think this is talking about the Prophet, but it could be a bit more broad. And here it asks a rhetorical question. Do you cause the deaf to hear, even though they do not use reason? Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. The image that I got in my head was that even the deaf, even the ones that struggle to learn and struggle to be educated, can hear what you're preaching if you're preaching the truth and you're preaching God. And that's kind of, and it's also like the question is, but can you make the deaf hear even though they weren't using reason? So what I understand is God can do that and God's words can do that. So it's even taking away, even if we are talking about the Prophet, it's not saying that the Prophet's able to make the deaf who don't understand hear, but it is God who does it. And then we see another example of it in the next verse.
ومنهم من ينظر إليك أفأنت تهدي العمي ولو كانوا لا يبصرون.
So this time the example is given in the same sense, like sight for sight. And among them are those who look at you. But can you guide the blind even though they were not able to see? And again, for me, it's a rhetorical question. Nobody can guide the blind if they can't see, but God can. Very interesting expression. It just seems beautiful to me, like God can make the deaf and blind hear and see. Like it's such a wonderful expression.
إن الله لا يظلم الناس شيئا ولكن الناس أنفسهم يظلمون.
And then here we see this time and time again, but indeed God does not do wrong to people in anything, but it's people that do wrong to themselves. Yeah, straightforward.
ويوم يحشرهم كأن لم يلبثوا إلا ساعة من النهار يتعارفون بينهم قد خسر الذين كذبوا بلقاء الله وما كانوا مهتدين.
I don't know why this specific section is so much longer than what I normally do, but anyway. And the day that they will be gathered, as if they had not remained except for an hour of the day. And then they recognize between يَتَعَارَفُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ. They get to know one another. So here we see a couple of things. The day they will be gathered, we know the day of judgment. It's as if they had not remained, and here we understand it to be the grave, except for an hour. And we've seen this, I think, in other verses of the Quran, that once you die, you feel like an hour later you come back and it's judgment day, like no time has passed. Like that's your perception. And then it says يَتَعْرَفُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ. They recognize each other, they're kind of talking to each other. So it does show an interaction that we will have on the day of judgment, that we will like get to know each other and get to speak to each other, which I find very curious, because I wonder who we'd be next to. Is it loved ones? Is it just geographical? Is it age-wise? I'm just curious. And then it says, certainly they're lost those who denied the meeting of God, and they were never the guided ones. They were never rightly guided. Yeah, on that day, it'll be too little, too late.
وَإِمَّا نُرِيَنَّكَ بَعْضَ الَّذِي نَعِدُهُمْ أَوْ نَتَوَفَّيَنَّكَ فإلينا مرجعهم ثم الله شهيد على ما يفعلون.
Okay, this confuses me. And whether we show you some of which we had promised them. Okay, whether we show you some of which they had promised them. Here it says the Prophet, but again, we're not sure. Or we cause you to die, then to us there is the return. Then God is a witness over what they used to do. So here there are two clauses in the beginning. The first is either we show you what we promised them, or we cause you to be. نتوفاكم can mean death, but can mean, because like you also تتوفى بمنامكم, you also die in your sleep, so to speak. Or we take you, and then to us you will return. It's interesting that it says cause you to die singular, and then us, فإلينا مرجعهم, is plural. To us is the return, and then God is a witness over what they used to do. And I find it interesting here. It says we either show you what we promised them. As far as I know, I don't know that the Prophet Muhammad was shown heaven or hell. I don't think. I don't know of any stories. I haven't heard of it. So maybe this is not talking about the past, or maybe this is talking about someone in specific that we don't know, or maybe this is just talking about the consequences of this world. For example, the Israel example, showing you what we have promised them. Yeah, it could be evidence of the Quran being true. And then the other one, or we cause you to die, which again can happen in your sleep. It's very interesting. But then it says, and then to us they return, and then God will be a witness over what they used to do. So yeah, I don't fully understand this. There's a lot of possibilities of what it can mean, but it's very interesting.
وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولٌ فإذا جاء رسولهم قضي بينهم بالقسط وهم لا يظلمون.
And for every nation, every people, every community, there is a messenger. And that is also why I believe that we will also have a messenger. The Quran says that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was a messenger and the seal of the prophets. So no more prophets, but I do think there are more messengers, and I do think that us as a nation, us as a community, are going to get a messenger. But that's my own belief. And so when it comes to them, their messenger, it'll be judged between them in justice, and they will not be wronged. Judgment is passed on them in fairness, and they will not be wronged. And here it says, so when comes their messenger? And again, that's why I don't think it talks about the time of the Prophet, because then it would have said, and so came their messenger, right? I think this is, again, the Quran is timeless, and it applies to all moments in time. So when comes their messenger, it will be judged between them in justice, and they will not be wronged. Which is also kind of a scary thought, because usually the approach of messengers doesn't usually indicate the application of justice, or maybe it does. The past tense, if we look at the previous stories of the Quran, it does show that a messenger came and then justice was delivered to them. Interesting. But anyway, it's saying this can happen again.
ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين.
Yeah, and they say, when is this promised? When is this going to happen? When is this threat that you say it's going to happen if you are telling the truth? Yeah, okay, well.
قل لا أملك لنفسي ضرا ولا نفعا إلا ما شاء الله لكل أمة أجل إذا جاء أجلهم فلا يستأخرون ساعة ولا يستقدمون.
Say to those who are saying, oh, so when is the time coming for our punishment? What's happening? Say, I do not have power, and this is something we can all say, I do not have power for myself or any harm. I do not have power for myself for harm or any benefits except what God has willed. I don't have the ability to benefit myself. I don't have the ability to harm myself except what God has written for me. And this is kind of like the humble attitude of the Muslim, of the believer, is that whatever happens, good or bad, it's because of God. It's not because I'm smart or I'm clever or I'm evil or I'm an asshole. It's God has written everything for us, and everything that happens to us is God's will. And for every nation is its term. So the idea behind the term is that they have, like, for instance, the Roman Empire, there was a time. The British Empire, there was a time. The rise and fall. For every people, there's a specific moment of when they are in power and when they are no longer in power. And that's what I mean this term is. So when it comes to them, their term, they will فَلَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ سَاعَةً. They will not delay the hour. They cannot delay it for a moment. That's correct. And they cannot precede it. So when their time comes, it's not going to come a second too soon or a second too late. It's going to come exactly when it needs to. And if ever you're looking at, why are these corrupt people in power? Why is this happening? Just know they're supposed to be there for exactly the time that they are, and they will get theirs just when the time is supposed to be. Trust in God. Trust and believe.
قل أرأيتم إن أتاكم عذابه بياتا أو نهارا ماذا يستعجل منه المجرمون.
This is also a very interesting expression, because again it's talking in a metaphor. Say, have you seen if it comes to you his punishment at night or during the day? Like, have you seen if his punishment comes to you at night or day? And I think here the idea is that there were a lot of stories from people from before, and you could kind of see the ruins of cities that had been punished. So I think that's the comparison it's making. But the words are saying, have you seen if torment comes to you at night or during day? And then it asks a very frustrated question that makes a very point. Why are you hastening from it? Why are the criminals wishing to hasten the punishment? Why are criminals like, oh yeah, bring it down on us? Bring it down. If you say it's the punishment, when's it coming? Like, why are they like, punish me now? Why are they so excited to be punished? I know why they're excited to be punished, because they don't believe that the punishment's coming. But the question still remains. You should ask them, why do you want to speed up your punishment?
أثم إذا ما وقع آمنتم به الآن وقد كنتم به تستعجلون.
But unfortunately, it is when it actually does occur, when the punishment, the suffering, the God's promise to you comes through, then you will believe in it. Like, you'll believe in it now, and certainly you were seeking to hasten it. So God was saying, you're only believing it once it arrives, and then once it arrives, you're going to be like, why was I trying to make it come quicker? Ooh. But it doesn't say why. It just says, and certainly they used to ask it to come quicker, which feels dumb.
ثم قيل للذين ظلموا ذوقوا عذاب الخلد هل تجزون إلا بما كنتم تكسبون.
And then it is said to those who did wrong, taste the punishment, taste the torment that is everlasting. This is your reward. This is what you get. This is what you deserve, except for what you used to earn. Are you not rewarded? Okay, are you rewarded except for what you used to earn? So are you getting punished? The only punishment you get is that which you earn, which again, time and time and time again, the Quran says, do bad, suffer. Don't do bad, don't suffer. Which again drives me crazy why a lot of Christians just believe in Jesus and nothing would happen. That's not what Jesus preached. Anyway, that's the end of today's session. I hope you guys had a happy new year. As I said in the beginning of the episode, but I'll repeat it because Mr. Matar is live. I will release an episode tomorrow and Saturday and then not Sunday. And the idea is that I will release 6 episodes a week. That's my current plan. Let's see how I do. We'll see. It's good to have goals and ambitions. But as usual, we always say, صدق الله العلي العظيم. Trusted is the word of God, who's most exalted and most grand. We learned that from the last episode. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. مع السلامة. Bye.